Hello there and welcome back to the Chap's Guide. If it's your first time here, this is a channel where we explore the topics of men's style, self-development and personal grooming. And from time to time we have special guests join us on our fragrance reviews, and today we're joined by English Leather, a classic fragrance which has been around since its introduction in 1949. Now, as the name suggests, its overwhelming essence is of leather, and it certainly smells of leather, that's for sure. So we're going to talk through some of its attributes today. We're going to talk about, where it comes from. It's produced actually by the Spanish fragrance house of Dana at the moment, but it's gone through various iterations, undoubtedly various reformulations over the years. There's two separate ones here on the table. What do I think of it? Well, my outline thoughts are, it's a little bit dated really. It's a little bit of a retro fragrance, but if you watch this channel for any length of time, you'll know that we quite like retro fragrances and things which others might discount. So, what's it like? Well, I'll let you see a couple of the adverts which are run around English Leather to give you an idea of perhaps how the fragrance sees itself.
English leather, or wear nothing at all. But there's no law that says you can't do both. English leather. There are men, and there are men. You know what I mean. But the men I'm talking about always smell good, fresh and masculine, like English leather. English leather does something for them, and for me. So I make sure all my men wear English leather. Every one of them.
English leather, cologne, aftershave, and gift sets.
Well, I think some of those marketing routes really wouldn't cut it in the modern era. The suggestion of sexuality, promiscuity, maybe it wouldn't really be appropriate in the Me Too era that we find ourselves living in, but that's kind of its personal self-image, I think, when it comes to English leather. Masculine, super masculine. Now, my relationship with English leather goes back a long time. Used to be in the military, long time ago. Used to be based in Germany. And I used to visit the American PX in their base quite often down in southern Germany. And I used to go there because they had things that you couldn't buy in the British NAFI shop, and they had some lovely things. We used to load ourselves up with Levi 501 jeans and things like that. But one of the things I used to buy was English leather. So I was in my early 20s, totally unsophisticated nose when it came to fragrance, and I used to go for English leather. I used to wear their deodorant, and I used to buy their aftershave. Not that I shaved particularly much in those days. If I remember right, I used to use an electric razor every other day when I was in my early 20s. But English leather had sort of very positive memories for me. So the other day, I purchased this giant bottle of English leather here. It's exceptionally modestly priced. Don't think I've been splashing the cash. You'll be surprised at the value proposition at the end. And I actually had an old bottle of English leather, which had been brought back for me by a friend who'd been to America in the last sort of decade. And obviously there's been a reformulation because the colour has totally changed. So, as has the fragrance. But more of that later. So, what does it smell like? Well, that's where it all comes down to, isn't it? Now, this is a cologne splash. I'm guessing we're talking about eau de toilette, eau de cologne level of potency, but we'll splash it on the back of the hand there. Well, I had a shave this morning, wet shave, and I actually applied this as an aftershave after I'd shaved. So very familiar with the fragrance, and it's been on my skin for a few hours already. But the initial wafts that you get of this fragrance is very much citrusy. There is a bit of bergamot, orange, lavender there, if you can pick it up. In the mid notes, I think you'll find that there are a bit of florality, a bit of rose, honey, a bit of fern, slight element of greenness. But this fragrance, forget the head notes, forget the mid notes. This is all about the base note, which for me is utterly musky leather. You can detect a little bit of cedar, which is pleasing, but this smells so much like leather. And I'll describe it perhaps as best I can, because there's leather and there's leather when it comes to fragrance. You know, there's like getting into a car which has leather upholstery and you get that sense of leather, but then this is more like going up into your attic where you've been storing lots of old things and you find an old leather attache case that had previously been owned by your grandfather, and you open that case up, and within that case there's a smell of dried out old leather, and that is the ambience that you get from English leather. It is an old dry leather fragrance, which is unusual but undoubtedly leather, undoubtedly unique to this fragrance. I've not smelt it anywhere else in any other leather fragrance. This one has nailed that element of the leather fragrance down. So what can I tell you about it? Well, when would you wear it seasonally? Well, for me, this is a fragrance which I would reserve for the cooler times of year, because it is very musky, very strong in a way. Not super strong, but it's a strong leathery smell ultimately, and I don't think that would lend itself well to the summer and the warmer months of the year. So for me, autumn, winter time, early part of spring, before the sun comes out. I mean, it's autumn here in the UK and the sun is beating down, but you know, this is probably better reserved for the cooler parts of the year. From an age range, for people who would wear this, I would suggest they would probably be 35 plus. I'm going to say 35 plus because I think it's a bit more mature. Now, if you are actually a working cowboy out on the range and you are attracted to the fragrance of raw leather, I think you may enjoy this at a younger age, but in reality, I think in the modern ordinary world, this is going to be attractive to people who are perhaps 35, 40 plus. That's where it's going to sit. And it's a fragrance which I would say you would wear in the daytime. This is not something that you would wear out to a special occasion, you know, to a birthday of a close relative, to your wedding day, or anything like that. This is a daytime fragrance where you want a powerful, strong masculine fragrance, which is leather, you know, a leather fragrance. It's kind of not for all occasions if you think when you want a smell of leather. Let's have a look. So I wouldn't wear it to an occasion. I wouldn't wear it to the opera or to a nightclub. It's not really sophisticated. This is a blunt instrument that smells purely of leather, which makes it exceptionally masculine. It's a very strong, masculine, musky fragrance, which I think, you know, your alpha males may wish to wear if they want to get that message about themselves across. On that regard, I don't think I would actually wear this in the office. It has the potential to be quite polarizing. I think you'll find that people will either like this or they will loathe it. And if you're close up to people, you know, if you're in the cab of a car with them or something like that, and you don't really want to take that 50-50 chance of having the person that you're spending close proximity time with loathing your fragrance, possibly best to leave this one until you're likely to be in the open air perhaps, or in a situation where the fragrance being disliked by the other person isn't going to be a problem for you. Let's have a look. What's its projection like? Well, it doesn't project horrifically strong. I would say a medium level of projection on this. You get a very powerful initial fragrance, that's absolutely true, but then it does dissipate rather quickly on the skin, being only a cologne splash. You know, we're not talking eau de parfum here. This is something which disappears relatively quickly once it's applied, leaving a skin scent with that reminiscence of leather. So not long lasting. Its projection modest. You know, I don't think people are going to be offended by it if they're beyond arm's reach. And its longevity, couple of hours, you know, this is not a long lasting fragrance. For me anyway. I mean, I have read reviews of people who will say this will clip on for 8-9 hours for them. For me, couple of hours and it dissipates to a skin scent which doesn't really, you know, project very well at all. It's just a pleasing leathery smell that you'll have on yourself. Third party comments, well, I've kind of alluded to that. A lot of people will like it. a lot of people will dislike it. So you run the risk of falling into one side or the other when you meet people. I wouldn't be wearing this on a date night, because the chance is, if you don't know the person you're meeting, because the chance is if they smell this on you and they don't like this fragrance, they're going to be put off. I think it has the risk of doing that to people. What's it look like? Well, bottle wise, it's a very, as I say, it's a blunt instrument, this stuff. It's a big, this one I've purchased here is a bizarre 236 milliliter size. So quite an unusual size bottle really. Square, cubular, with a actual wooden lid on it. Plastic inset, of course, and quite a large cologne splash opening on it. So if you splash this, you really are splashing it. You've got to be a little bit careful. Comes in other sizes. I have an older bottle here, which I believe is 100 milliliters. This one, exactly the same lid as you can see. It's changed. Over a decade, this has become more, I don't know, it's a less pleasing fragrance in its age. Whether that was a previous formulation. The current formulation, which I purchased this just recently, well, I say just recently, I bought this in 2017. I had to look it up on my Amazon purchase history to see how long I'd had this, and I bought this in 2017, and it's quite quite a chunky old bottle, and I don't think you're going to mislay that in any way. So value wise, this is cheap stuff, which is one of its aces up the sleeve really. I paid £16 for this when I looked it up on my Amazon purchases from 2017. A quick bit of research today tells me it can be bought for around about £16 still. So it's not appreciated in value in any way, but do shop around, because if you look purely on Amazon, you might see much higher prices. So shop around in the other fragrance venues as well. So look around there. How would I sum it up? Well, this is a very powerful fragrance which smells totally of leather, and you know, it has very few other qualities than that. I don't really like it that much. Now, I don't often come before you with a review of something I don't like, because I don't see the point in telling you about something which I don't enjoy. But this one, I bought it because of my history with it, going back, you know, decades ago, and it didn't live up to my memory. And when I smell it today, it seems a dated, retro fragrance which hasn't kept pace with the modern era. A lot of older fragrances still smell good today, but for me, this one, it's too much of a blunt instrument. It smells like old dry leather, and for me that's just not enough to win it a place in my collection. But you must try it for yourself. If you like leather fragrance, this is definitely something you need to have a go at and give it a try, because it might be just the thing which ticks your box. It's just not mine. There we are. Now, I like to think at the bottom of my reviews, who would wear this fragrance? Who can I imagine wearing a fragrance like this in the real or fictitious world? And I've thought for some time, and the person I've come up with for this is Thomas Magnum. In the 1980s television Private Eye program, played by Tom Selleck, a rugged, tough man, craggy skinned, craggy face, big powerhouse of a man who's an absolute man's man. And I can imagine him smelling of English leather. There we go. You might have a different thought. If you do, please leave it in the comment section below. Now, I hope you've enjoyed this video today on English leather. If you have, give us a thumbs up. When you're there, click that subscribe button as well, because we would love to have you join us here at the Chaps Guide community. So until the next time, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you again very soon.